So, welcome and good morning. So they have this. Can I, for a moment, lock this creature out? I
You
don't
take
know.
your time.
Better. So we had our anatomy and physio and BSE. So semen evaluation is basically a little bit deeper than that. So it's like a detailed version of BSE because BSE is looking at the overall picture. So now you're looking at just the semen parameters. Oh, this is something that I want to also get out of the way. I do have some application or request for me to become FYP supervisor. I think there were 4 or 5 of you, which I have not replied yet. I think I just want to take a moment here to just reply on that matter. So this lecture note was made last year, and I think it's more or less still relevant this year. I'm not sure, but after the loss of our last Sumatran rhino, things start to fall out a bit. But I think it's still relevant. So if there is any students from Sabah, especially from Sandakan, I would still prioritize that because I would still like to rekindle whatever collaboration we have with Bora, although they say they're not doing reproductive work anymore. But I'm still hoping we could. So if there's any students from Sabah, Sandakan, I would prioritize that. Second is that I was saying there were 4 or 5 of you making requests, and it was a generic request. I don't know how to respond to that. It's like me looking at the billboard. What salesman wanted, something like salesman for hire, and then salesman tu pun macam reply on a very generic auto reply as well. So I don't know how to respond to that. Can you make my life easier and write 500 words of essay or so that I can actually evaluate who you are, what's your motivation, what you want to work with, at least an idea of that. So I know roughly who I'm working with. So basically that's why I was telling you, I was stalking some of your friends because I don't know who you are. I tried to Google some of you. You came up in YouTube in Lexcan, so I know some of you. But some of you are too elusive. I googled that. I don't know who you are. So it's good so that you can write like an essay, introductory essay by yourself, and maybe a motivational essay of what you're thinking to work with. So then from there, then maybe after that we can progress to interview, which I typically do. And at this point, if you're feeling of backing out, so it's fair as well. I am looking for people who are interested anyway. So if you're not interested, you can also drop off. So to that 4 or 5 people, it's not compulsory for you to actually go on with the process of me selecting my FYP candidates. So that's that. What I want to highlight in this slide as well is that we have been doing some collaboration with Bora, and we've published in a very good journal and work with Malay and Pangolin. So we have potential work with proboscis monkey, orangutan, and tembadau. Tembadau, especially for now, the Sumatran rhino is more or less gone. Although we do have some samples, but I think they're actually saving it for rainy day. So these are some of the work that I've been working with. Apart from that, I'm working more or less on ruminant. Yes, some of you got it right. So I think my PhD is in ruminant. So you would say my forte is in ruminant, and basically it's in deer anyway, and it's deer reproduction. But I've started to branch out from there. So now I'm working with Malayan tiger, with Pelitan, and I've been working with some preliminary work with Malayan tiger, if you're aware. So on that note, I think 3 of the branches you could actually, if you're motivated on that sense, I just want to see how you convey your idea and information in that sense for me to evaluate whether I want to choose you as FYP students or not. So that's out of the way. Thank you. Oh, so this was the out of the Bora workshop that we did before COVID. So you see some familiar face. Dr. Anas is here. Dr. John, Datuk John, Dr. Zainal is here. Dr. Donny, me, ada lagi yang familiar rasa. Mr. Yap, you tak sempat. Siapa lagi yang korang kenal ni? Dr. Rupa yang handsome, lagi bergaya, Dr. Valen, ni Brian, Dr. Zubaida, apa lagi korang kenal? Ni yang perempuan yang lupa, Lee Jim Yi something. Yeah, so I think it's rather exciting to be working with international body on a specific topic, which is ART, and this is one of my first, if not few, early one that I've joined, and I just want to share with you my experience of getting to know people and getting in an international conference, making like big impact in life or in that sense. So I think this is what excites me. I just want to share with you. Particularly this time, they were presenting some work on rhino cell line. So they were going into cloning application because we don't have any more fertile male or female Sumatran rhino. So basically, the body of the work is that even though after rhino kind of go extinct, Dr. Azlan is here. So sorry. So while the Sumatran rhino goes extinct, the recovery, or there is some work that you can do if you cryopreserve the somatic cells, or if you cryopreserve the gametes, you can actually, we're thinking of bringing back Sumatran rhino from extinction once the technology is available. So that is roughly the application of ART ataupun assisted reproductive technology in the pipeline in the future, which I like to throw at you guys to just roughly know what are the potentials. So you're learning now what Therio, right? So but then what's the end? So this is basically the end, or the end of like the high end application of ART to basically bring animal from extinction. And this is actually not too far away. We've seen in mice the Japanese did from somatic cell lines. So they did cloning and everything from the single individuals. They managed to bring like clone and bring back the actually Dolly was one of it, cloning, but I think the Japanese did it in an extreme way, taking like skin cells and then they differentiate it so it becomes like stem cells. But Dolly, in a way, they take a stem cell and they do cloning or something like that. But Japanese managed to make it like, even though they take, let's say, samples from your hair, samples from your skin, your cheek swab, and they can make another you. So I think that is what is different and what is being advancing right now. Is it ethically correct? Is it ethical or not? I don't know. Is it morally right? I don't know. But that is the thing that we're doing. Some people say play God, but if you say play God, that's a very big loose term that if you can probably debate, that I would not touch on further. And back to semen evaluation, basically it's just to look at the semen characteristic, as I was saying. So for veterinary students, to conduct semen evaluation in bull, the bull, eventually for that tree classification, whether it's satisfactory, non-satisfactory, and classification deferred, right? So this is the form, you've seen it, I've told you previously, I'm more or less elaborate on it just to bring it to your attention again, that we have two forms. One is the standard American theriogenology form that we also use. Another is the form from our lab that we kind of develop in-house. Basically, you will see some overlap, but try to just feel it even though it overlaps, because I think there are some differences. And at the end of the day, we want to have this copy of this our university punya ataupun our faculty punya BSE form, because it kind of makes sense. But more and more now, I think we're also accepting copy of this form, so just make it available, just fill it to the fullest, fill it until it's complete. It should be okay. And at the back of our semen evaluation form, you can also see semen cryopreservation and semen preservation form, which entails type of extender that you use, extension rate, what dilution, volume, and etc. Actually for easy note keeping. And then the quality after thaw. So after that, after you cryopreserve, you take it out and then you also evaluate. So this form actually covers that as well. And then, I lupa. So tadi bila tengok ni ada comments on the result of post thawing kan. So sebenarnya sama juga. Actually, what I want to see on this form particularly is the comments on the quality of semen. So usually I will read this line by line together with a rotation group. So whatever grammar mistake, whatever things that I think that I want to address, sentence incorrect, usually will come here. And I don't know why. Kadang-kadang bila tulis tu dia pelik tau. So I do enjoy reading your comments, and this is what most likely I'm gonna read apart from all those above, right? So try to gather your thoughts and write it in a proper form. In a way, if you trying to submit this to a farmer or a laboratory, they want to make sense, right? So I don't know. Mungkin korang masa tulis tu, you're thinking it in your mother language. So if it's Chinese, maybe Mandarin or Cantonese. If it's Indian, maybe Tamil. If it's Malay, maybe Melayu. So dia direct translate tau. Macam-macam lah comments on the quality. Dia ingat I tak baca kan. But usually I do read this section particularly a lot. So make sure you pay a lot of attention, and at least whatever comments you want to make, try to make like a group consensus so everybody agree. Because when you do semen evaluation, although it's individual, you try to get the average and everything. But once it comes to comments, I think it's detrimental that all of you take responsibility or take ownership of it. So ada juga yang group kadang-kadang cakap apa, comments on the quality of semen ni, dia kata bukan dia yang tulis, kawan dia yang tulis. Fair, but I think it's rather irresponsible for you to say that. So try to come up with a group spirit and actually own it, even if you don't do it right, own it and then improve your mistake and try to work out from there. Sama juga yang ni, tapi kita jarang buat semen credit position dengan semen towing, selalunya sampai situ saja. But I just want to let you know that there are actually more to that. And we actually do manual semen evaluation because our CASA is out of order. But the cons are rather apa? The cons are rather big lah, maksudnya. One of the reasons why you can't do like automated sperm analysis is cost. Because yesterday we actually got a quotation. It's more now. It's more expensive now. So it's around 270,000 to 300,000 that we're trying to get for our lab for teaching purposes. Because with automated semen analyzer ataupun CASA ni, computer assisted sperm analyzer ni kan, what it can do to the samples of, I think, you can kind of achieve with manual evaluation, but if you try and do it manually, let's say if you're doing it for one sample with CASA, I think you will take an equivalent of maybe almost 2 hours, if not more, to get that CASA punya level, and then consistency as well you never get with human evaluation. But having said that, manual evaluation is also important for you to know and understand, because as far as reproductive performance of bull or male animal is concerned, a quick window to that evaluation is actually by looking at the semen. And if you actually relying too much on the technology which is not available to you for whatever reason, then you will lose that opportunity to look at what is happening to the animal. Whereas it's actually an easy procedure. Even with a microscope, you can actually achieve some minimum level of semen characteristics that you can actually describe, and you can actually investigate if it's in relation to infertility. So I think this is where I'm getting at. Not many people can afford CASA. Even our laboratory is struggling to afford CASA because it's rather expensive. But it's good to have, especially for teaching university. I think it's good for us to have so that we can have a show at you what is the possibilities and other possibilities that we can explore. So the procedure I extracted it from WHO manual, which looks at macroscopic and microscopic parameters. So macroscopic is like whatever you can see externally, physically. Microscopic is what you can see with microscope. It's self-explanatory. So these are comparison of semen parameters in bull, which was published in 2019 by Tan, and another comparison that I made was in Rusa timorensis deer. So immediately you can see there are various differences in parameters because of the anatomy and physiology of the animal. So in terms of volume, instead of using mil, they use directly conversion of that. But actually you can get it. So semen volume here is actually volume in mil time sperm concentration. So let's say mine is around 1 mil or less than that, 8.86 mil. So you times by the concentration there, if you understand what I mean. So yeah, so this one volume dengan ni you darab je, so you should be able to get the concentration. If it starts from 1 billion, so it's less than that. I think this is around 800 million. So in bulls, because the volume is more, and then I think the testis pun lebih besar, so mungkin lah. So I suppose Kavin has a point now. Maybe that the larger the animal in terms of testis volume, then perhaps the volume of the sperm may be more. Kavin, do you want to reply to that? Have you found out about elephant semen volume?
Not yet, Doc.
Aduh. Anyway, but yeah, it kind of makes sense now, yeah. And then there are different colors as well. Kevin, can you share with us at the end of the class? Motility lebih kurang, which is acceptable. Lebih kurang ni.
All right, sure, after your presentation, Doc.
Right. Semen collection, AV. Yang ni they use different methods. AV is artificial vagina, right? If you remember, and EE is that big ass probe. So AV is obviously superior than EE in terms of percentage of success. I think this is what it means. Semen volume ada. Compare. Motility tak compare. Morphology pun tak compare. Right, anyway. Let's move on. So these are the apparatus or instruments that you use to actually measure or you calculate the concentration of the sperm. It basically has grids on it. So if you see, right, dia ada satu ni kan, atas ni dengan bawah ni separated by this longkang here. So this is chamber A and this is chamber B. So actually you're making two calculations and then you get an average. So you get better representative of the concentration. And this is one of the chamber, right? Chamber A, yang atas ataupun bawah. And then they have more grids inside it. And what you want to do is you kind of focus on this box number 2, and you increase the magnification of the microscope. And then inside there, you'll get this one. And what you want to count is from here in this box, box number 1, box number 2, box number 3, box number 4, and box number 5 of the sperm cells that are inside. And either you use a left or apa ni? Wah. No. Left panel, right panel. Right. So there are actually certain rule that you can use. Either you use left or top. Wait, let me draw. Either you use left or top, or you use right to bottom in terms of calculating the sperm cells. So you just stick with one, because if not, you're gonna count them twice, or it's gonna be redundant. That's about let's say the sperm is here, right? Let's say that's one sperm. So if you use left or top, you will not count this one because it's at the border. This is for sperm at the border, right? So if you count it, you use one system, you will not recount it. That's just the point. Either you use left or right to bottom. But you kind of understand that if you use it consistently, you will not count it twice. That's just the basic of it. Yep, I think that's all I want to say. So these are the consistency that I've also mentioned in previous lecture. Milky, thin milky and creamy consistency. That is also consistent with the forms that we have. at least our faculty punya form tu. So you scale it or you grade it according to the color. So this is what I really remember in terms of saying that the sperm is milky in color. So if you can see here, it's very good contrast with this with the pineal gland because it's red. So that is really milky in color that you had for your breakfast. So what you do for microscopic is also assess the motility of the sperm. So you do this by doing it in two methods. One is the wave pattern and another is general motility. Ooh, so this is a YouTube video. I don't know if you want to go through this. I think we should. Okay. What time is it? Oh, we still have time. Right, so I need to show you this motility so you can kind of know, understand what it really meant by wave or general motility. Sperm motility. One is this one. Hold on, I'm just looking for the video first. Of course lah, dia tak ada. Will Google be smart enough? No, it's not. Wave. Yep, nope. Hold on. I think that's... I think if I search video, it will come up. Ha! Andainya. Right, fair. Not the best, but I hope. This should be better one. I'm using Google Photo. Not so smart though. I mean, the user is not so smart. I remember when I took the video. Ah, dah jumpa. Ha 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 ha. The user is smart enough. So I have few motility video. Okay, how do I share this? Let's start with wave first, because this is what I have. So, yeah. You guys see? Right. So what happens is that when you collect the sperm, right, it actually swim in motion. So macam apa dalam bahasa Melayu dia apa, renang berirama tu kan. So what happens is actually swim together in motion. It creates this wave. So then what you do is you score this wave from 0 to 5. So let me play this video. So 5 is very fast. and 0 is no movement. 5 is very fast, 0 is no movement. And video orang yang ambil video ni tak pandai sangat. But yeah, towards the end there, you could see when it's focused better on the movement sperm. So what would you grade this? Can I just have a few? What is your grade on the wave so we can see what the variation? What do you reckon the speed of the wave? 0 being no movement. So 0 is definitely out of the way. 5 is very fast, so that's definitely out of the way as well. So you're working with 1 to 4. So that is how I do, at least how I map in my mind, right? So you eliminate mana yang definitely not. So 1 to 4. I don't think it's 4. I think it's lesser than that. So 4 you tolak, 1 you keep in mind. So is it 3? I think it's too slow to be 3, so now you're working with 1 or 2. So now you're deciding whether 1 or 2 is the motility. So I think this is slightly faster than 1. It's 1.5. I selalunya akan tersangkut dekat tengah-tengah. So when I'm in that border, right? So I just jump that border and go to the higher number. So for me, this is around 1.5 to 2. So that if people ask you, you don't get caught. Maksudnya, rasa macam laju sangat So you letak 1.5. Tapi skor 1.5 sebenarnya tak ada. So you tengok lagi, then you maybe if you look more, let's say if you say it's 2, right? Then another person say it's 1. So then you get an average. So maybe that's better. So that's one thing with trying to evaluate the sperm through manual means. So it's rather subjective in a way. But I think it's not so important to get like really accurate punya ni. But no, roughly that's the representative or that is what the motility is. So it's good enough. Maksudnya tak perlulah sampai you nak begitu tepat pun. Even for research, it's also acceptable if you use manual evaluation. So tak adalah ni sangat. I rasa motility ni kalau dia mati je, then that will be your worry lah. Ataupun if it's too slow for whatever reason, then that will be your worry. So the same worry with our Sumatran rhino, the motility is only 1 out of millions, seekor je sperm berenang. So that is something for you to be cautioned with lah. But otherwise, if it's swimming live and well, it takes 1 sperm again to actually fertilize the oocyte. So yeah, tak apalah. So this is second video. Let's see. I minta you all bagi tadi motility last sekali yang bagi. So this time I'm going to give some chance to some of you since we do the first practice already together. So let's see if the video is good enough. So you can see this is a lot faster. So what's your take? Anyone want to guess? This is a video I took myself. I'm so sorry. If you were to blame, it's me. I'm sorry. Pakai tangan je lah. Video yang elok-elok mana dah. So what do you have in mind? Anyone? Anyone want to try? Raja, come on lah. Just guess and then we work from there. Let's see. Macam cakap tak perlu tepat pun. Tapi kalau let's say dia panggil vet untuk evaluate kan. Kalau vet tu CP-CP je. Better than if you compare to a vet yang langsung tak isi dia punya form. So at least you come out with something.
Doctor, I guess it's around 4. I mean, compared to the SNOS one, this is like maybe about 2 times faster, I guess. So I think it's 4.
Yeah, I agree with Raja. Raja is spot on. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. So, yang ni? Ya Allah, teruknya video nak buat mengajar. I should probably take better video next time. So, what's this? Mencabar kan? Mencabar video quality dia. Ya. Siapa lagi? Ravinia lah sebab I nampak muka kurang kan.
Mostly in the comment section, they say 3. Yeah, like most of them telling it's 3.
I'd be more inclined to 3.5 to 4.
Oh,
But let's see yang tadi yang ni 4 kan. Oh yelah mungkin lah 3. Yeah, have a point. So this is a lot faster. But again, I think if you try to see, yang ni adalah satu dot tau. So dia punya dia punya berenang irama dia tu lebih padat sebab ramai yang berenang berdekat. But when you spread, I think this one is because it's spread. So sebab tu dia punya tak kuat. But if you see some of the wave here, I think I'm more inclined to 3.5 to 4 because it's quite fast, but because it's kind of distributed, that's why it appears slower. But I suppose 3 to 4 is not that far off, and I would still take on either. Yeah, so that's a good guess from everyone. Good job. Is this the same video? Yeah, so this is basically the same video from different angles, I suppose. Oh, yeah. Different level of lousiness. The videographer. Tapi you can see, right? Some places when the movement kind of meet, dia jadi macam dia nak jadi 4. So I think that's why 3.5 to 4 is also fitting. But yeah, if you want to say it's 3, it's also okay. That, and we also notice, at least for me and my evaluation, I like to use the least magnification. Sebab then you can see more and you can see an overall of the movement. We notice if we put the magnification higher, kan, it's more, when you zoom in more dalam kan, the speed will appear faster because if you imagine you're looking at just one section. So I think I would discourage you to do that and just stick with the lowest magnification, which is what, times 4. So don't go times 10, don't go times 40, because then it's like, if you imagine, if you're trying to look at apa F1 punya racing kan, you kena tengok jauh sikit. You tak boleh pergi tengok depan tu apa pun nanti you tak nampak. Memang dia laju lah kan. So I think that is the equivalent of that. So that's the wave pattern more or less, you know. Lepas tu wave pattern ni pula dia saya buka pintu tadi. Kucing yang masuk. So wave pattern ni pun kalau you perasan 0 hingga 5 kan. So selalunya dia lebih kurang, formula dia you darab 20 ataupun you darab 20%. So let's say tadi motility yang Raja dapat 4 kan, you darab 20, dia lebih kurang dalam 80%. Selalunya dia akan macam tu, dia akan very correlated with the general motility. So you know, let's say if you're trying to troubleshoot kan, you tengok dia punya wave laju kan, tiba-tiba motility dia lambat. So you know that actually you evaluating it, the time of you to evaluate is slow. That's why the sperms are dying. Because actually when you do this procedure kan, for me, my A to Z is around 4 minutes. Siap. So you can't take longer than that. So my motility pun I ambil dalam seminit je untuk determine. So kalau you ambil 10 minit, 15 minit, dia akan mati lah sebab bila you letak dia dekat dalam apa stage microscope tu, dia tak ada heat tau. Selalunya kita maintain dalam 37 atau 38 degree Celsius. So bila dia sejuk, dia akan mati lah. Mati kesejukan. So I'm still sharing my YouTube, my Chrome punya browser kan. So I want to bring you to motility now. So motility is after that wave pattern kita dilute kan. So you nampak lah, yang ni you can go higher up magnification. So you see individual motility. So what you're doing right now is when you see this movement, right? What I do is, kalau macam ni kan, you nampak yang bergerak, yang berenang kan? What I do is immediately the one that does not move, I estimate that one because it's difficult for you to estimate the moving one. So what I do is I estimate the non-moving one and then you minus. Let's say the non-moving one ni, yang ni berapa persen? So yang ni too fast. So So sorry. Oh no, what happened? I press skip. Kita mood aku semua tak nampak. Okay, so you nampak kan? Ada yang tak gerak ni kan? Yang tak gerak ni you terus persen kan? So yang tak gerak ni tadi I nampak macam around 30%. Yeah, so around there. So yeah, so again, this is rather subjective. But what you're actually doing is that you're taking as if one let's say that one whole view and you take it as 100%, and then you kind of see, and then you guesstimate what is the non-moving percentage. So then you know how to gauge lah. So yang tadi let's say 30%, so the motility is around 70%, and then you zoom in further, you want to see individual motility, not necessarily. Yeah, but ini pun yang I cakap lah, I tak suka apa magnification dia terlalu tinggi sebab nanti nampak sikit. But what you actually want to do is you want to get like representative the sperm movement kan. So ni pun you can imagine dia pergi zoom lagi, apa nak nampak seekor je nampak tak gerak. Tapi sebenarnya kalau you zoom out and take the bigger picture, you can see more. You should be able to evaluate that, and that is what you want to evaluate. Apa benda betul? Hold on. Yeah, again, so if you're looking, I think this is what we should just be working with around this magnification. Lepas tu you want to apa? You want to get percentage of the motile sperm versus non-motile sperm. So that is basically what general motility is. Yep. Stop sharing screen. I'm gonna go back to my lecture note. Oh, my friend. I hope you get a grip of what is that, because I don't think I can show you that much example in this so little time. But basically, no, that is what it is. Yep. So this is the detailed concentration count of how you arrive to formula 50y times 10 power 6. So some mathematical things, if you're interested to see, this is how you arrive. It's interesting to ask this in the test question, I think. Semen dilution and dilution factor as well. How many microliter of diluent that you need to use. These are the normal dilution that we always use. Yep. I don't even want to touch this, because if I do, then it will become a mathematics punya lecture note, lecture. And then there are many ways for you to arrive to 1 to 100, not just one way. So as long as you know what to do, I hope you can figure out mathematically. Semen morphology pun ada banyak, so they are classified in different abnormalities, primary, secondary, tertiary. Artifact are things that are just like major or minor abnormalities. So this, after you do all the motility, you actually stain it with eosin stain, and then you see what are the abnormalities, and then you count as well over 200. So these are the abnormalities in crocodile sperm. So you see loose head, micronucleus, band midpiece, cytoplasmic droplets, macronucleus or big nucleus teratoid, malform, cytoplasmic droplets. So immediately you can see the shape is also different. Crocodile, reptiles, they are vermiform, or they look like worms. Mammals, they are paddle shaped, or they look like paddles. What it means is, I think I told you some are fat and some are thin, right? So they are paddle shaped. Anyway, that's that. So these are deer sperm as well. They are paddle shaped. So the ones stained in red are dead sperm, using eosin because the stain is able to penetrate the membrane. So that's why. Sperm abnormalities, if compared, I don't know what I want to compare here, but if you're looking at semen volume, again, I think it's drastically different. And this one, using different regime, will have an effect as well to the semen quality. Ooh, on time. So conclusion is that semen evaluation is important, which could partially explain the fertility as well as to improve the productivity of the farm. So I think where I want to highlight about semen or sperm evaluation is that it is very important in the sense that if you see sperm that has very high abnormalities, which is basically more than 70%, or very low motility, let's say motility pun tak berapa kuat lah, let's say motility tu tak ada, then memang masalah lah. But if there are certain motilities, I think it's not too much of a worry because I don't think there's a big correlation in that. But in terms of abnormality, yes. In terms of concentration, also I think plays a major role, if not a very important role. But if you compare it to libido, right? For example, libido of a bull, kan? Libido is not really a good correlation of fertility. So what it means is even if the animal have poor libido, it's not directly correlation to the fertility of the bull. That's the issue with libido, which I think why you require the use of semen to actually evaluate in terms of fertility. So, but while libido may be an issue in certain animals, but they can't find an established correlation that says animal that is poor in libido has an issue with fertility. Sebab walaupun dia poor, macam I cakap, it needs only one sperm to fertilize the oocyte. Walaupun dia poor, as long as dia buat kerja dia, walaupun dia malas, as long as the timing is right, as long as the animal know what it's doing, I think that's why it does not correlate very well with fertility. Whereas with sperm, if the sperm is no good, bull tu libido macam mana pun, it's not gonna happen because the sperm is not well ataupun not good lah. So I think this is where at least I would encourage you if you go and practice later, keep your semen evaluation skill handy and be enthusiastic in collecting semen because that's the best way for you to evaluate the window of fertility of the animal. Roughly know what is the physiology that the animal is in. Similarly, if you're thinking when you're married, right? So ask your male partner to get tested first before they want you to do it. Because in female, I think it's more complicated. So that's the takeaway. Thank you very much. Any question? Oh, Kavin, please indulge us.
So about sperm motility tak?
Sperm volume
Oh,
in
sperm volume.
elephant. Because you asked
Okay.
what's the volume of elephant sperm, right? Yeah. Or
Okay.
elephant semen in that matter. Any other question?
Yeah, I think when we talk about sperm volume, there is many factors into it that we need to look into. So
Yeah.
contohnya if animal A punya sperm volume is 100 million sperms ini spermatozoa ini. So maybe only 30% of that volume is viable.
Okay.
That's why the repeated mating is important. So enough
Kavin, are you
viable
in my class or not? I'm asking you your last question when you asked me elephant punya semen volume. So that was your question. So I'm asking back your question. Does it matter
you want me
the
to talk
animal
about-
size?
you want
Kavin
me to just
mesti
answer
nanti.
about the elephant thing, is it?
Ya.
Mana lah, I tahu dok.
I dah cakap
So,
tadi
about-
3 kali dah. Takkan nak tahu.
Baru bangun kan dok?
Hey.
Okay, so for the elephant thing, I think there is correlation lah dok, from animal size to the sperm volume.
Right, so what's the sperm volumes of elephant?
I cannot give you an exact volume until I have collected on my own.
Tak juga. That sounds like you are not born in the millennial age. Semen volume in elephant. Google lah. Semen volume in elephant male. 48 mil in Asian elephant, 30 mil in African elephant. So yeah, right off the bat, it's immediately very different. So in bull, you can get 15 mil. What's in boar? Boar semen volume. I know boar is like, you see, boar one average ejaculate is 250 mil. So yeah, as I was saying, as I was trying to make a point, right? In that sense, to a certain extent, yes. If the animal testis is big, so physiologically, yes, it should be more. So elephant versus bull is that traditional macam testis hang besar, hang banyak volume, hang banyak apa semen. But another non-classical example is if you look at boar, testis tak adalah besar mana, tapi dia boleh menghasilkan 250 mil semen ejaculate. So that was the answer that I was expecting from Kavin, but he was giving us something in the bush and answering. Dia kata dia tak collect semen buaya apa gajah, dia tak boleh jawab. I can accept the answer if it was 30 or 40 years ago where our professor need to go to library to find information, but at our age, all the information is at the tip of the finger. So that is almost equivalent to if I ask you to do a homework, you don't do it, I say you're lazy and it's acceptable. So that's that. I think the take back message from this as well is I hope you guys can incorporate information to your fullest, to your maximum. Tapi don't let the technology be ahead of you. I think this is another good example. Sebab I notice students kan bila dia ambil semen abnormalities dia pakai telefon. I cakap kenapa you pakai telefon? Dia kata sebab telefon ni punya gambar lagi cantik dengan I tengok mikroskop. I cakap that is a very good example of how the technology is smarter than the user. So it should not be that way. You should be smarter than the technology. You should know what you want. So what you need to do is you need to adjust the microscope. Sebenarnya mikroskop tu ada banyak adjuster daripada eyepiece dia kepada dia punya focus tu. And then dia punya eyepiece tu pun you boleh fokus kiri dan kanan so that you get better and sharper punya apa? Better and sharper image lah. So that is where at least an example of don't let the technology fool you or don't let the technology be ahead of you. You are the master of technology. Same thing that I noticed DVM1 do not understand the concept of small animal because they Google. So they use Google ni pula algorithm dia kalau you cari kan. I think that is the bell curve or normal distribution. If you ask something from Google, it's the layman, what laymen understand from their search, right? So it's their hit search. So if you are a vet student, you do not belong in that bell curve. You are that 10% here and 10% there. So you do not belong there. You need to do your research. So I almost failed 10 students because technology is smarter than them. They don't know what small animal means. They are defining it wrong. So small animal for them is animal that is small. So that includes hamster, that includes hedgehog, that includes rabbit, that includes guinea pig, and that includes sugar glider for them. But we know right off the bat as we progress in veterinary medicine, our terms of small animal is actually what we meant is this cat and that dog. So that's my lecture for today. Thank you very much. No more question, I think, or maybe one last one since I have 4 minutes. I'm going to give a chance if there's any question before we end because we do
Doc,
have.
I have one question.
Yes.
Okay, Doc. So if just now you explained how we evaluate, how we give score for the sperm motility kan, with the wave technique. What if when another person has to compare their research to contohnya video research and we want to compare to another researcher, how is it a standard technique? How is it universal enough so we can compare results between two different researchers? Because it's very manual kan, it's very
Yeah.
how do I say, very tak ada system.
Tak ada system. It's subjective.
Yeah, very subjective.
I think that's a fair argument. That's why in higher tier journal they would prefer for you to use automated system or CASA tu. But it doesn't mean that your information is not valuable. Especially if you're working with endangered species kan, yang orang tak buat kan. Dan limitation ni pun sebenarnya sebab dia endangered species lah, you tak boleh pakai kasar. Sebab kasar is this bulky machine that looks like a washing machine. So kalau you nak pergi field, kalau you nak pergi Lahad Datu lah, kalau you nak pergi masuk dekat mana, Lanjak Timau, somewhere in Sabah, somewhere in Cameron Island yang sangat dalam, ataupun you nak pergi Gunung Berembun kat Cameron Island kan. So if it's too deep, you can't bring everything at your disposal. That is where you still need manual semen evaluation, and does not mean that your parameters are not valuable. I think that's point number one. Point number two is if somebody is trying to compare semen semen motility tu, sperm motility atau sperm wave tu, boleh compare, tapi you need to compare apple to an apple. Maksudnya kalau you nak compare, you kena compare dengan orang yang buat observation manual juga. You tak boleh lah buat comparison dengan orang yang pakai kasar contohnya. So it needs to be a fair comparison, so you know. Another thing is that in order for you to minimize the subjectivity, usually it's quite acceptable as well if you have 2 or 3 technicians that takes the evaluation and then get an average. Usually that's a better representative. Yeah, I suppose those 2 points are what is really important for you to consider in terms of manual evaluation. And then if you compare juga daripada manual evaluation dengan tak ada evaluation. Langsung you tak ada evaluation sebab you kata I nak ada kasar. Nak ada kasar tu 200,000. Macam you beli kereta, you dah boleh dapat ni Ford Mustang EcoBoost. So you nak beli kereta Ford Mustang ni ke you nak beli kasar? Let's say masa tu you nak rasa lah bawa Ford Mustang tu. So you beli. Tak apalah. It's still better than you do then you don't do evaluation at all. Maksudnya you ada seekor kuda ni nak pergi evaluate, you bawa Ford Mustang you. Ada kawan kita vet tu yang beli Ford Mustang kan. So tapi you dah terbeli kereta yang mahal ni. Tapi it's still better. You come and do evaluation manually, it's still better than not doing at all. I think that's a very important third take home message. That something is always better than nothing. But of course, if you can afford it, go for the better one, which is kasar. That's all. Thank you. So we meet tomorrow, yeah, Ravinia? Yeah, let's just try the same link, but I'll also maybe get ready with a backup link. And don't forget about the attendance lah. I don't know are you going to Gandalf that, but I hope you can. All right, bye. Assalamualaikum. Take care.
All right. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.